In this discussion, I will first outline the basic theory of the new classical position and their points of difference with the Keynesians. Then I will proceed to show how these assumptions are worked into a model that claims the ineffectiveness of discretionary policy and advocates a rules-based approach. Finally, I will comment intelligently on why I disagree with the new classical economists. The new classical economists sought to build their system on solid assumptions that fitted the economic agents in a more realistic way. Thus they build their models with complex microeconomic assumptions. So new classical economists assume that people have rational expectations with regard to the reaction of market participants. Thus they will react with more certainty if the market participants know what will come and will adapt their style to fit, as there will be much more certainty with what will happen with the money supply and inflation expectations. Now, we have here a piece of algebra. yt equals theta y, 1 minus t, etc. is the equation for output, which you can see on your course, your notes, is the equation for output with the rational expectations assumption is in place. Another assumption classical economists make is one of continuously clearing markets. This is a rather bold assumption that receives much criticism from opponents as being unrealistic. This certainly contrasts with the Keynesian assumption of sticky prices, and it must be seen that this second assumption grows out of the first, that investors have rational expectations and so will expect prices to change because of factors such as expected inflation, expressed algebraically as seen in your course notes. So people will react rationally and will automatically adjust prices to keep pace with expected changes in inflation. The aggregate supply hypothesis is heavily dependent on macroeconomic theory assumptions that firms and workers seek to optimize their utility, and the supply response of either firms or workers depends on relative prices. Thus the labour market reflects microeconomic theories of substitution between leisure and work. If the real wage rises and is perceived to have risen, then the workers will work much longer, as it is worth trading leisure for work time. The goods market shows that the supply of firms, such as all monetarist leaning ideologies do lean towards supply-side economics. Here we see an aggregate supply equation that incorporates a surprise function and rational expectations into the theory. And we see again this one in your course, in your notes, where E is the random error process. This imperfect information model of the aggregate supply means that perfect information is not required of participants in order for an equilibrium to be met. Rather, it assumes that each rational agent will work to the best of their abilities to adjust to the changing market conditions. However, the theory states that the agent face a signal extraction problem, making it difficult to determine the exact changes in real price movements. Now we deal with some policy implications made in this model to help us determine the advantage of a discretionary or a rules-based system. Now we see this diagram here. This chart shows the way that new classicals think about the impact of monetary changes on the impact of output of the country. Now we see here that the equilibrium changes from the initial point of A, which is too high, to the point N. If the move is a surprise move, it will stay on the same short-run aggregate supply curve and will move from A to B. This is associated with a large loss of output from YN to YB. If, on the other hand, the move is expected by market participants and the statement from the monetary authorities is credible, then this will shift the short-run aggregate supply curve from SRAS1 to SRAS2, and will move from A to N with no loss of output.